The title of this video is Unlocking IEPs. As we're being prepared to work with students with disabilities, have you ever wondered what the acronym IEP stands for in special education? What exactly is an IEP and what does it look like? What kinds of information must be included in it? These are all important questions and the answers to which we'll need to know when teaching students with disabilities. In this video, I will answer these 4 questions. It is important though to understand how IEPs fit into the bigger picture of teaching students with disabilities. Therefore, I will briefly explain what happens before an IEP is developed. If a child is suspected of having a disability, a parent, teacher, or other professional can request that the child be evaluated to determine if there's a disability. This is called a referral or request for evaluation. After a referral is made, a screening is done to judge developmental progress to determine if there is a need for a full evaluation. If a full assessment is necessary, this information gathering process would involve conducting multiple procedures such as observation, interviews, review of school performance data, medical history, and other important processes to get a full whole view picture of the child. After the assessment is complete, a group of professionals and the parents look at the evaluation results. They decide together if the child has a disability. If the child is determined to have a disability as defined by IDEA, then he or she is eligible for special education services or related services. Within 30 calendar days after a child is determined eligible, the IEP team must meet to write an IEP for the child. Now to answer the first question, what does IEP stand for? It means Individualized Education Program. What is an individualized education program? Using the information obtained from assessment results, a multidisciplinary team consisting of the child's parents, teachers, school staff, and professionals such as a special education teacher or a school psychologist, they meet together to develop an individualized education program for the child with a disability. This Individualized Education Program, or IEP for short, is a written document that contains a description of the child's needs, the child's strengths and weaknesses, and a unique educational plan that is designed specifically to meet the needs for the child with a disability. Please note that individualized means that the plan is designed and written for a specific child. It is tailored to help the child meet specific goals. An IEP is written for children ages 3 years and older, while an IFSP or an Individualized Family Service Plan is for children ages birth to 3 years. Now let's look at what a sample IEP form looks like, and as we do that, we'll look at some of the kinds of information that's mandated by federal law to be included in an IEP. This IEP was taken from the New York State Education Department. Highlighted in red, you'll see all the required information that must be included in the document. There's a space above here for the student's name, date of birth, the local ID, the type of disability, the projected date that the IEP should be implemented, and the projected date of annual review. In red here, this must be included in IEP is the present levels of performance and individual needs that must be included. There's a space left for the social development, the present social development of the student's strengths, and the student's social development weaknesses or needs, as well as the student's physical development strengths and the student's physical development needs. Another required piece of information that must be included is the effect of the student needs on involvement and progress in the general education curriculum, or for a preschool student, the effect on the student needs on participation in appropriate activities. This IEP also contains a space for student needs, whether the student needs a particular device or service to address the disability rather. IEPs must also include measurable annual goals. On this IEP, you'll see the space for the annual goal, what the students will be expected to achieve by the end of the year in which the IEP is in effect. The criteria must be included, that is, the measure to determine if the goal has been achieved, the method, how progress will be measured, and a schedule when progress will be measured. IEP must also include a report of progress to parents. Parents can know if the annual goals are being achieved. IEPs also must include recommended special education program and services, and for each service that's listed, it must include the frequency, how often it will be provided, the duration, the length of the session, the location where it will be provided, and the projected beginning date. IEPs must also include coordinated sets of transition activities, the type of service and the activity, as well as the school district and the agency that's responsible for the service. IEPs must also include whether the child will participate in state and district-wide assessments, if the child will participate in the general assessment that's administered to general education students. If not, then the alternate assessment must be identified and an explanation must be given as to why this assessment was selected. IEPs must also include participation with students without disabilities. There has to be an explanation of why the child will not participate with the general education, the students in regular education class, or for preschool students, why the child will not participate in appropriate activities, and an explanation of the alternate classroom or activity that will be provided for the student. This concludes our assessment of what an IEP looks like. Thank you for watching.